Okay. Let's give this a shot. Haven't tried it with Starlink yet, but I guess we'll find out what happens. Can it show up? That would be great. Thank you, YouTube. I appreciate being able to see that. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Haven't had time for one of these in a while, but I like the talk streams. They're fun because we don't have to just keep it to tech. We can talk about tech if you want, but we can talk about any other subjects that happen to come up. And they're not as crazy. I think whenever I do the tech YouTube streams, I did one yesterday actually, but whenever I do those, there's a million people spamming questions and things get out of control very quickly. But I do occasionally want to do them so people know that I live stream, and I try to remind them that I live stream regularly. So, but this is cool. This is more laid back. It always brings a smaller crowd, which I appreciate. Um, Jimmy Carter says he was president. That is a fact. Mike said monkey. I appreciate your insight. Oh, it's YOLO Piop's alternate account. Well done. Thanks for filling me in. Rough Riders Show asks thoughts on Starship SN11. Seems like they wanted to do a static fire today, but didn't go through with it. It was cutting it kind of close on the clock, but I hope. It seems like almost every Starship launch is a little bit better than the last one. So the last one stuck the landing, but then exploded. So if they can make it a little bit better than that, then yeah, I think that'd be pretty solid. JG, I don't know why YouTube decided to hold this for review. All he said was, could I do a speed test with Starlink? Yes, I could. I don't have a great way of showing my screen right now because I have OBS, Chrome, and Twitter and everything open and all that. I guess I could take a picture and just show you. It's easy. The speed tests are always a lot better over Ethernet. When I do it over Wi-Fi, it's never that fast because there's like a million devices on the Wi-Fi. We've got all our smart speakers on it. We've got multiple cloud cam security cameras on it. We've got several smartphones, several iPads on it. So the Wi-Fi speeds are always not a great indication of how fast it can be, which is why I guess I want to show you how fast it is with Ethernet because that gives you some perspective on how fast it actually is. So I'll go to fast.com and see how it does. I am live streaming at the moment, so I don't know if that impacts speeds significantly, but yeah, it does seem a little bit slower when I'm live, but I guess that's to be expected. So it says I'm at 100, so I'll take a picture just so you can believe me. Normally, actually, when I'm not live streaming, I can get a bit higher than that. I've before gotten it to 240, 250, which is kind of cool. And when I did the speed test, it influenced the bit rate. I dropped frames as soon as I started the speed test. So, okay, no more speed tests. But basically, when I'm live streaming and we have everything connected, I can still get about 100 down. When I'm not live streaming, I've gotten over... Whoa, I don't know what I just did. I've gotten over 200 most of the time, which is pretty cool. Rough Rider says, so glad Falcon 9 B1063 is being shipped to Florida after DARPA delay so they can add another booster to the fleet. Yeah, I'm glad to see that too. I want more boosters in the fleet. I know this is not how Starlink works. I'm well aware that it takes a while for the satellites to get into position and fully become activated. But like the morning after the Starlink launch, was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. The morning after, the connection felt a lot more stable and it felt like it wasn't dropping as often. It's probably a placebo. I know that's not the cause because it takes several weeks for them to turn on and everything, but I instantly noticed the connection. Like I did a YouTube stream with Starlink yesterday and we only dropped 3% of the frames, whereas the first week I was testing it, it was like 6%. So I was like, there you go. The day after, they did one launch, boom, instant speed improvement. That's how that works. I don't know why they keep holding all of JG's messages for review. That's funny. Let's see. If EVs are the future, how does Elon Musk want the battery to last in cold, snowy weather? Batteries can work in cold, snowy weather. In fact, I know quite a bit of YouTubers that drive Teslas in the cold. In fact, there's quite a few advantages to driving an EV in the cold. Obviously, the range is impacted pretty greatly, but to be fair, range is impacted on gas cars too in the cold. The trick is just getting a larger battery pack so that even when the weather is cold and your efficiency is crap, you can still drive great distances. But yeah, it's not like you can't drive an EV when it's cold. I mean, Tesla has a whole Alaska freezing testing facility that they've tested the Model Y and the Tesla Semi and the Model S Plaid. They take all of their vehicles up there for winter testing. Yeah, your range basically gets cut in half when you're in like freezing temperatures, but if your range in the future is going to be 400, 500 miles, you can still go pretty great distances. So, yeah. Let's see. What else are people asking? Do you think the 11 Pro is still a good phone even with the 12 models out? Oh yeah, heck yeah. I did a few videos on that. I was telling people in what video? I think it was a few months ago, I think. I did a video explaining that I did a video saying that I would still recommend the 11 Pro over a few of the 12s. The 12 Pro, to be precise. If someone was thinking about getting a 12 Pro, I would just tell them to get an 11 Pro. I feel like the battery lasts longer. It's more comfortable. The display is still great. You still got a charge brick back in the day. You probably won't today, but no, yeah, that's like a solid phone. There's very little reasons, in my opinion. If you still have an iPhone 11 Pro, I cannot think of a ton of reasons why you should upgrade to a 12 Pro. It's like, what, you're getting a worse battery, a slightly better chip in 5G? Like, 5G stupid. I'm sorry. I've done multiple speed tests in the past few weeks comparing LTE to 5G, and I still have not noticed the big jump in speed. In fact, LTE normally ends up being faster, which is pretty funny. Oh, Yuri says he pays $7 a month for 100 in Ukraine. That's a good deal. Ukraine's got some good internet speed. It's very different depending on where you are. It's actually like a huge impact on where people live. I know tons of people that have moved and had to choose a different office space or had to move their business or move where they live simply because of the internet speed. Like, that has been a huge influence. That's why I moved out at first. I mean, I was paying my parents' rent when I was first out of high school and doing YouTube full time, and the rent was pretty cheap compared to where I was moving, but I needed a better internet connection. I needed a big some big overhaul to my internet situation, because at the time I was still living with, Verizon hotspot, and then for a while Verizon's hotspot was like truly unlimited and they didn't have any throttling on it, but then they announced a policy change that was going to go into effect where they said that after a certain amount of gigs used on your hotspot, they would start slowing you down. And once I saw that, I was like, okay, I'm going to be in trouble here if I don't move pretty quick. Let's see. Why Mike said, I come from reality where iPhone 9 existed. It's not bad, needs more cameras though, and it keeps glitching out like Spider-Man. iPhone 9 existed. Whatever happened to iPhone 9? Shot in the Tech asks, super random question, but do you have a video that you're most proud of? That is a random question. I don't know why this one comes to mind, because it's not really that good. And I bet no one here has really watched it because it's so old. But back when I was doing the comedy skits in the like Taylosive cinematic universe thing, I put a lot of time and work into this short film called Justice Man versus Volunteer Cop. And I don't know why when you ask that, that's what came to mind, because I feel like I've made videos that have performed a lot better, or that people have laughed a lot watching, or videos that people find entertaining that were also informative. Like, most people's favorite work of mine is probably Pixel rants. Like, whenever I rant on some Pixel product, people love it, and I still get comments on those videos to this day of people saying like, "Oh, I could still rewatch these years later. They're still so funny." But I don't know. To me, that those ranting isn't terribly hard to me. Like, I feel like when a product is terrible and there's a lot of issues with it, it's very, very easy to rant on it. And like, those don't have a script. Those videos are basically just like, I'm mad, so I'm going to start yelling and document the whole thing and then edit it and throw it up on the internet. And I guess it's funny, but I don't know. They feel less intentional. Whereas that Justice Man versus Volunteer Cop thing felt very intentional, and I was very happy with the end product. there was only one part. I don't remember calling it part one, but uh, I didn't really know where I was going with that. I just made a few and then kind of gave up on the project because I was just like, I don't I don't really know where I can end with this. There's only so many different fight scenes we can come up with, but um, I felt like I'm proud of that one because writing the script and then publishing the final product, I felt like the final product was closest to what I had in mind when writing the script, which is I guess why it comes to mind for me. It was just like I had a vision in my head when writing it, and the execution followed that vision probably most accurately compared to any other video I've ever made, which is why I don't know. Tom S says, "Do you appreciate the fact that you can work from home?" Oh my god, so much. I am super duper thankful. I think it's great, and I think that this is going to be the future of a lot of jobs and positions in the future, especially thanks to services like Starlink, which is going to bring faster and faster internet service to anywhere on the planet. Yeah, me and my wife are able to take our lunches together, take our breaks together. We don't spend anything. We hardly spend anything on gas unless we go on a road trip, which isn't that often. Um, but yeah, we get to just stay at home. We save a bunch of money. I feel like driving is dangerous anyway, so it's safer for all of us to work at home. We don't expose ourselves to all these foreign germs as regularly. Not any more than we have to. I mean, where we live, we still have to go to the store to get groceries. We don't live in a place that does like the, what's it called? DoorDash, Uber deliveries where you can order groceries and people drop them off at your place. If they had that, I'd be very tempted because I like staying at home. I like not having to go out if possible. I mean, there are times I enjoy going out. You just want a change of scenery. I think back in my bachelor life, I didn't like days where I stayed home for 24 hours or so. You know, every day I would want to go at least somewhere, even if it wasn't for food, even if it was just to walk around, check out a new hiking spot, or just visit someone. Like I wanted to leave my office or leave my house at some point, go somewhere every day, or otherwise it feels like the day didn't really happen if I didn't go somewhere. But now, I don't know. It switch has flipped in my mind where it's like, well, if I go out somewhere, I gotta I gotta wear a mask. I gotta watch out with who I'm around and how many crowds there are, and I gotta drive, and I hate driving. So I think being married and working from home has made me more of a homebody. It's made me more comfortable staying at home because um, Louise is such a good cook, which I guess in my bachelor years I wasn't good at cooking anything, and I never really tried to cook that many things in the first place. So if I wanted to eat something that was better than cereal, I basically had to go out and drive somewhere and get good food from a place that I liked. So now that I can get good food from home, and I can also work from home, and I can watch movies from home, and of course I'm living with my wife who's fun to hang out with, it just feels like there's nothing that interesting out there that makes me want to go out all the time. But we still try to go on walks and hikes and stuff best we can. um I hate working from home. I want a separate place to be mad and frustrated and a place to relax. Okay. That makes sense. um let's see. I miss your rants. There needs to be something to rant about because I get a lot of people saying that all the time. They're just like, do more rant videos. It's like, on what? Rant about, I don't know, something, find something, and then just rant about it. It's like the rant videos wouldn't be good if there wasn't anything rant worthy. The reason the rant videos are good is because there's so much bad decision making in a product that it led to me coming up with lots of bad things to say about it. If there's nothing really that bad to say, so we gotta have more we gotta have more rant worthy products to get more rant videos. That's kind of the challenge. Let's see. How did I feel meeting MKBHD online? That was probably one of the most exciting, like most nervous moments I've ever had in my YouTube career. I probably shouldn't have been that nervous, but it came through very obviously in the video of me interviewing him. It became very, very clear how shaky my voice was and how like anxious I was talking to him. He was just, I don't know, he was like a content creator I'd been watching for a long, long time. So when I finally got the chance to just have a conversation with him, it was, I don't know why. He's just a guy, we're just talking about tech. It's not like I'm gonna get in trouble. It wasn't live or anything. I can edit everything if I needed to. But for some reason, just being able to communicate with someone who I've been watching from a viewer's perspective for so many years, because I was watching Marquez long before I did tech videos, and kind of before I was doing YouTube videos, I was watching MKBHD. So he was just a big influential persona to me. And for him to finally just be like, so go ahead, start asking away. And I was like, I was nervous. So that was a lot of fun. But at the same time, the funny thing about interviewing Marquez was, for one, it was like a day before I was moving out of my parents' house. So I was already kind of in a weird headspace. I was like packing everything up, and we were getting ready to pack up all my equipment, and we were getting the office ready. The first office I moved into, we were trying to get it painted and all that, but I wasn't able to record there just yet. So I was recording at home, but Wyatt was in the room off camera. He was sitting on the couch in the attic, and he didn't get to hear Marquez because I had my headphones in, but he got to hear me. And once we finished the whole interview, he was poking fun at me the whole time. He was like, "You sound so freaking nervous." He was like making fun of me. I was trying to remember what he said. It wasn't in like a mean way. I was laughing too because I agreed with him. I was like, "Yeah, dude, I was nervous." But he said something funny. What was it? I'm trying to remember. I think he said something like, "This is you interviewing Marquez. So, what do you think the next iPhone's going to be like?" Just like the overly anxious laughter and stuff. I don't know. Wyatt has a good way of impersonating me that always makes me laugh. I remember me interviewing him and looking over, and Wyatt was just like, "What are you doing? Why are you laughing like that?" So it was funny. Anyway, I got a kick out of it, but I don't know. It'd be fun to do that again. I just don't have good questions for him. Wow. Chris Norton super chatting 24 pounds. He says, "I enjoy your videos." Thanks, Chris. I hope you know the super chats are completely unnecessary. Don't need to do them, but thank you anyway. Appreciate that. Maybe I should just turn off super chat. That'd be easier. Did you stop eating junk food? Asks Wolf Gaming. Yeah, me and my wife are, well, there are still junky foods we eat, but we're on a sugar detox. Not a super strict one. We're just trying not to eat processed sugars as much. So, like sweets like candy or chocolate or that kind of thing. We can still eat like fruit. We're still eating like blueberries and apples, and there's probably still sugar in some of the things we're eating. We're just trying to avoid the traditional processed sugary foods, which is what we were eating a lot of, whether it be cookies or chocolate bars or Kit Kat bars and that kind of thing, or Nutty Buddies is my wife's favorite. She loves those. We had a big bag of gummy bears because she loves gummy bears, so I got her that for Christmas, but she hadn't eaten all of them. But basically we were just trying to cut out the sugary foods for a few weeks, so that sugar detox will end on the 15th. Today's the 12th, so we're almost through it. We started it at the beginning. It began with, what was it? March 1st, beginning of the month. We were just like, we're going to stop for a while. Let's see. Do you think mobile phone interviews is getting a bit old? Isn't it more only about operating system now? Do you mean reviews? I don't know how to interview a mobile phone, but yeah. They're getting old because they're getting repetitive and there's less and less things to bring up in a review. It's like the camera's good, the battery's good, the display's good. So yeah, I agree. They are getting very old, and we're going to click. The tech industry is kind of stagnating with innovative features, which is why a lot of tech YouTubers are not able to grow their channel as fast as they used to. That's happening to me, and it's also happening to many other tech YouTubers in the space. Mike super chatted, says, "This is unnecessary. Do not pay attention to the why behind the curtain." Okay, I will not pay attention. Edith says, "Do you have any friends/relatives who work for tech companies?" Yeah, not anyone too close. Mostly in-laws. I don't know anybody who works for companies you guys would know, but definitely a lot of tech companies. My uncle, truth is I don't remember the name, so I'm not going to out him here because I'm not even know I can't remember if I'm supposed to tell people this or I'm not supposed to tell people this. My uncle works for a drone company that works on military aircrafts with, advanced camera systems, and they got to be able to launch missiles and stuff. So he's been working in the, I guess that's an aerospace industry for many decades now. The dad of my brother-in-law's wife, it's kind of very distant, works for Microsoft, but I haven't seen him in a few years. I met him a few years ago, but yeah, he had been working at Microsoft for a few years. They live up in Washington, but yeah, I got to stay at his place. He had an amazing house, and he had access to all these different Xboxes and stuff. He used an iPhone, which I thought was funny, but yeah, he was a real cool guy. Wish I could see him again sometime. I haven't seen him in many years, but not blood relative, but he's the dad of my brother-in-law's wife. So it's kind of out there, but yeah. Ben Close says, "Ayo, why don't you like super chats?" It's not that I don't want them. It's just super chats are appreciated greatly. It's just I feel bad like when people send, like Chris always sends these huge super chats, and he never really asks like a huge question, which I don't need him to. I just mean, like, if you're gonna just say I enjoy your videos, you can just write I enjoy your videos. I'll see the message and appreciate it. You don't have to donate, which is why I've said before, like, sometimes people are too generous, and people just super chat $1 or so. I'm like, okay, great, thanks. But when people just suddenly drop 20, 50, or 100, I'm like, oh my God, that's a little out there. It's like a little too crazy, but sorry, Starlink's looking for a satellite. There will be frame drops. I know there's signals coming back here. Let's see. Do you wish your channels had more subscribers / viewers? I mean, yeah, I don't know anybody who's against that, but I'm fine where I am because I feel like I make enough, and I mean, there's perks to having more success and more people watching and more subscribers, but there's also drawbacks. When you get bigger, you get more criticism and you get more people who hate on you, and things can get worse at the same time. So I don't know. I'm comfortable where I am. Obviously, more viewers would be cool, but if there's not more viewers because there's less interesting things to talk about, that's fine. I can accept it. I can accept that. Ben says, "Do you invest in crypto at all?" Not too much. I've what's the term? I've dabbled in it. I've never put that much money into it, but very volatile and very unproven statistically for me to want to invest too heavily in it. Like, in the grand scheme of investing, crypto is still pretty new, relatively. I know Bitcoin's been around for about 10 years, but between different index funds and the stock market, and we have a lot more data to go off with that, which is why no financial advice. I'm not an expert. Do your own research. Don't trust me. I one man's opinion. Don't do what I do. But I would much rather invest in mutual funds and stocks than cryptocurrency, which I've seen certain people invest in. But yeah, I don't know. There's so much uncertainty with it. I have a hard time investing in things I don't completely understand. And I've tried really hard to understand cryptocurrency. I've watched every little tutorial video or explanation video, and there's still parts I don't get. There's still parts that confuse me. And to be frank, I don't think crypto is the future of currency, which we've talked about on the Tech Podcast. But yeah, I think that the volatility will prevent it from being a standard. I think people are buying into it now, treating it as a stock because they know the value will go up, but they still ultimately plan on converting that back into an actual backed currency like the US dollar, which does not hold its value very well, but because it is backed by the government, is accepted in a ton of different places, whereas crypto less so. Yeah, you can buy crypto, but the number of places that are willing to accept it as payment and how many people are going to use their crypto as a payment method, I think, is not that high, because for the same reason you wouldn't trade your shares in Tesla or Apple in exchange for a product or something that depreciates in value, like a car or a phone or that kind of thing. People are buying onto it and holding it as an investment strategy, not as a alternative currency, which is what it was developed to kind of replace, which is, I don't know. I'm wrong on lots of things. I could be totally missing the point on crypto, but the more I think about it, the less I understand how it could ever replace traditionally backed currency. If the federal government or multiple federal governments decided to start all backing it simultaneously, that might stabilize the value of it so it's not so volatile. But even then, with there being a set number of coins that are progressively getting mined, and the complexity is of how long it takes to transfer crypto and for them to process different transactions frustrate me. I'm like, okay, how is that supposed to become a standard? And how many decimal points you have to put up with when you're talking about tiny, tiny fractions of a Bitcoin. I don't see how you're going to be able to teach everybody to move on to that. I could see it being a tech community thing where techie people are aware of it. But when it comes to like my grandma or parents and trying to get everybody in the country onto that standard, it sounds way too complicated, way too complex. So yeah. Ben says, admittedly, I've done more research into crypto than the regular stock that I invest in. It's much more exciting investment, I think, and there's great ways to earn stable passive income. Oh, I agree. I think there's lots of great ways of doing stable passive income. I just think crypto is not, at this point, crypto isn't necessarily one of them because we don't have a lot of history to base our expectations of the value on. Compared to mutual funds in the stock market and the S&P, which we've had for many, many decades and lots of years of experience to figure out, okay, the general trend is going to do this. Whereas crypto, there hasn't been a whole lot of regulation on, or, I've seen a few articles talking about if they decide that a certain amount of crypto mining is decided to be illegal, or they decide to shut down certain crypto farms, how that could influence. I don't know. There's very little regulation with it right now, which makes me question the future of it. So that's why I'm not putting a bunch into it. Dogecoin is a valuable joke. Yeah, it is a joke, but it's making money. Let's see. Random question, version 11. Nicola Badger or Lordstown Endurance? I can only choose between these two. I think Lordstown was closer to making it to market. They at least had a working prototype. They at least had like a working vehicle that was driving around and stuff. The Badger never even got past the render stage. Lordstown got a little bit past that, so I'll pick Lordstown instead. My goodness, Chris Norton super chats again. He says, you said a super chat is better as you see them, and if I couldn't afford it, I wouldn't do it. Well, that's good. I'm glad you can afford it. I just mean, it is very easy to see super chats, but in live streams with 30 people watching, it's very easy to see all the messages. Why can't we keep any payment method simple? Do we really need to overcomplicate it? No, I'm not in favor of overcomplicating currency, which is kind of what crypto feels like to me. It feels like exponentially more complex than traditional currency. People try to make it sound simple. They make these little 2D animated videos. It's very simple. They're the blockchain and they're the coin and the miners mine the coin, but then there's a certain amount of crypto, and once we mine all that crypto, then the value goes up, so you have one fraction of a Bitcoin. They try to make it sound so simple, but there's so many though. That also makes it way more complicated. Like in the national world, we have like how many currencies? I mean, 90% of the world is using like less than 10 currencies. I feel like there's like the US dollar, there's the euro, there's the pound, there's the rupee. But then with crypto, there's like hundreds of different variants that you can translate. No, the bank interest is almost nothing. Same with dividends. I just mean that there are stocks that are very slow growth but predictable growth, and certain coins can go up in value based on if they're backed by the US dollar, but the US dollar is going down in value because of the how much money we're printing all the time. So I don't know. It's still uncertain at this point what the long-term future of it is going to be, in my opinion. Andre Maris says, I have a tech page on Instagram. Can I use your photos and credit you? Keep up the great work. Yeah, as long as you're crediting me, I don't care. If you're reposting without credit, that's a different thing. But yeah, as long as we can, as long as people know where the photos are coming from, that's fine. Chris huddled underneath his cardboard house. I must super chat. Oh yes, the Canadian loony, of course. Okay, let's see. Have you ever thought of making a Tailosive Productions featured film again? I ping the idea around in my head on occasion, but I can't really come up with anything that I think would be very entertaining or interest. I don't know. The bottleneck I kept running in with trying to make serious films was it's hard to do serious films without a lot of talented actors, and if you have like no budget available, it becomes a lot more difficult to find the time and to find people that are willing to act and act well. And you typically need a certain amount of production value, like props and sets and that kind of thing, to make the story you want to tell somewhat interesting. So I don't know. I have a few concepts of feature films in my head, but nothing that I can really make on my own without some sort of budget. And I know whatever I produce and just throw up on YouTube isn't going to make that much. That's kind of the trick with Tailosive TV, is it's like, it's really fun to make skits and it's really fun to make those comedy shows, but they make almost nothing because the amount of time it takes to make like 3 minutes of scripted comedic content is hours and hours more than it would be to make 10 minutes of a tech video. Like, it takes me about an hour to crank out a 10-minute tech video, whereas it would take me about 12 to 20 hours to crank out like a 10-minute edited comedy skit. So no, phase 2 isn't happening with the TCU. Sorry, Ben. There's so many different people that are no longer available. I don't even have the props in access anymore. And part of the reason I stopped doing it was because I didn't really know where it was going. So it's just like, I'm going to end it on a cliffhanger, and I don't know. I couldn't come up with a great end solution anyway. I get it, Drew. I only did one play in grade school. No need to attack me based on acting. I've never seen you act, Mike. I don't know. You did great on the phone call when we needed someone to be on the phone during I Love Louise. That was great. But no, I just mean, you're busy. Everybody's busy doing something. And finding time where everybody can be available, and they take a long time. Like I made that hide and seek feature film way back in freshman year of high school. That took a lot of planning and a lot of people to get scheduled, and it's a ton of work. And then you upload it and it gets 50 views, and you're like, okay, I get nothing out of that, I guess, other than just I'm proud I made it. But I can do that with all kinds of video projects now anyway. So I don't know. I need a good idea and a lot more people, which I don't have really either right now. But my buddy Ross in the Air Force wants to make more movies like that. We've made a lot of movies in the past together. We used to do contract work with like wedding videos and doing videos for different businesses and that kind of thing. And he's planning on picking up some more equipment once he gets back, and he wants to make more and more kind of, I don't know, storytelling based films. But I don't know, it's tough. It's easy to write out a script, I've discovered. You can come up with anything if you're just writing a book or writing a screenplay. But when it comes to like, how are we going to actually film all this? How are we actually going to develop all this? It's like, oh, that's way more tricky. And also, every time you try to make an advanced film like that, you take the risk of making something embarrassing, which I've done plenty of times, where you upload something and it's just laughably bad. And then you feel bad about creating it because you're like, now I've made something that people just laugh at. It's like this pathetic attempt at making something good. Um, so that's always really discouraging when that happens, whenever that happens. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have a roadmap for that, but yeah, it'd be fun to do one day. Tom says bank interest has been in the negative for a few years now due to European Central Bank and the FED. No, yeah, savings account interest is a joke. I wouldn't recommend that to anybody. In fact, we're actually the other day we were just looking at our bank account. We had a checking and a savings account. And Louise and I were like, wait a minute, why do we even have a savings account now that we're investing pretty much as we can into Vanguard and different mutual funds and, different stocks that we want to put money into? We're like, why are we still having the savings account here? Like, that's not required. Let's just get rid of the savings account entirely. And yeah, it's the interest rate on it is pathetic. It doesn't even account for inflation. So it's basically losing value if it's just sitting there. It's much better to be invested in something that even if it's a slow growth, it goes up at least somewhat over time. General trend with stocks would be up. So yeah, we're getting rid of that savings account now because we realized how pointless it was. But there are